Hey YouTube, this is Jaden, and this is going to be another deck profile that I have for you guys. This is going to be 72 Pillars. This deck is not completely, there are other cards that I want to get for this deck to test play, but this build is completed, and in test playing, it is extremely consistent and very annoying, which is what I think Magic World is supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be annoying, so I'm doing it right. So, anywho guys, let's just jump straight into this deck profile. So, like I said, it's Magic World, 72 Pillars. Here's our buddy monster, and I'm just going to jump straight into him because he is the first card we're going to talk about. So our buddy monster is Dance Osmodai. He is a size 2 monster with 6k power and 2 crits, and defense doesn't really matter in Magic World. His call cost is pay a gauge. When he enters the field, you can draw a card. Helps you cycle the deck, refreshes your hand a little bit, and he's actually a pretty decent opening move too. He's also the only size 2 monster that this build plays. There are other cards that I want to get for this deck that would change up the lineup a lot. This build does not play Solomon's Great Barrier, and that's just because this is the only monster that's not size 1. Once I get Inverse Osmodai, that will change the deck quite a bit. But as of right now, this is the only size 2 we play, so there's no reason to play Solomon's Great Barrier. So that is it for that. Next, we're going into size 1s, and there is a lot of them. So the main one is 4 copies of Fevrant Demon Lord Teacher Osmodai, and 2 buddy rares, 2 triple rares. If I had one more, I might actually make him the buddy, but to be real honest, I like Dance Osmodai. Call cost is pay 2 gauge and return a 72 pillar monster from your field into your hand. When this card enters the field, destroy a monster on your opponent's field. Then, if there are 3 or more other 72 pillars on the field, destroy a card on the field. So when he enters the field, if there's 3 other 72 pillars besides him, he's going to pop 2 cards. One is a monster, and the other one can be anything. So it can be 2 monsters, a monster and an item, a monster and a set spell. And he has 5,000 power, 2 crits, 1k defense, so 1,000 rapier stats right there. Then we play 4 Let's Play Osmodai. When he enters the field, if you have an Osmodai in the drop zone, gain a life. 5k power, 1 crit. Since with Demon Lord Teacher Osmodai, you're going to be bouncing cards back to your hand. You want to play cards that when you replay them, you gain some sort of plus off of it. So, gain a life. 3 Deceiving Shacks. When he's called to the field, if you have 2 other 72 pillars on the field, draw a card. 2 Gamagen. He searches out your set spells. Pay 1 gauge, and when he enters the field, search out a set spell and add it to your hand. We play 2 Street Racer Eligos. Eligos, his ability, he's a very weak monster. He has only 1,000 power, 2 crit, and 1k defense, but his counter ability is what you use him for. During an attack on your opponent's turn, pay 1 life. If you do, call this monster from your hand to your center and change the target of this card of the attack to this card. And then when he is destroyed, you can pay a life. If you do, he comes back to your hand. So you can use him kind of like a shield as of sorts. We play 2 Tiny Professor Crosel, 1,000 power, 2 crit, 1k defense. He is here for his ability when you're going to start bouncing a lot. Fish Flavored Elixir. When another card returns to the hand from the field, you can gain 1 life. It activates once per turn, so it's a really good card to have on the field if you're going to summon Osmodai. Then we play 2 Demon Dr. Boyer, size 1, 1,000 power, 1 crit, 3k defense. This is the only monster in the deck that has more than 3k defense. His ability is Come and Go. When this card enters the field, you may put the top card of your deck into the gauge. If you do, destroy this card at the end of your opponent's turn. And then lastly, we play 1 copy of Demon Lord Osmodai Original. His ability is Dangerous Backdrop. When this card enters the field, you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, destroy a monster on the field. 5,000 power, 1 crit, 1k defense. So you gotta play the 1 because it's Osmodai. We only play 3 items in this deck, and they're all sorcery but Goetia. Quick cost is pay a gauge. This card can attack even if your center is occupied, which it's always going to be in this deck, or usually should be occupied. And then if you have 3 or more 72 pillars on the field, this card gets plus 2,000 power and plus 1 crit, so it becomes a 5k 2 crit weapon that can attack with your center full. So that's really good. For our set spells, we play 2 copies of Emergency Ward Neverland. This is really good because it has no cast cost at all. You just set it. Its ability is when a card returns to the hand from the field, you gain 1 life. So it activates once per turn. So you can gain lots of life in this deck very, very fast. 1, Barking Solomon. This card is really good, especially against decks that draw a shit ton. Its cast cost is pay 1 gauge, set spell. Other than during your opponent's start phase, when the number of cards in your opponent's hand increases, your opponent must choose a card from his or her hand and discard it. This ability activates only once per turn. So really good because it kind of just slows them down a little bit. And then I play 1 Noisy Dance Room. A lot of 72 pillar decks do not play this. I like Noisy Dance Room. It's a set spell, cast cost of 1 gauge. All of your 72 pillar monsters on the field gain 1,000 power. But the reason I play it is for its other skill. Act, you may pay 1 gauge. If you do, return a 72 pillars from the field to your hand. I really like that because you can bounce some of your monsters and then recall them to gain their skill again. And then for the rest of your spells, a lot of staples. We're going to play 4 Nice One just because it's pay 1 gauge, draw 2. It's pretty standard in Magic World. 3 Mind of Hardcore. If you have 2 72 pillar monsters on the field, you gauge 3. You can only use 1 once per turn, so that's why we also play 2 Key of Solomon first volume. Although I will say I am considering cutting this just for a 4th Mind of Hardcore and then using the other slot for something else. Honestly, this is working just fine, so that's just, you know. Then we play 4 copies of Good to Go. This is counter. Return a size 1 or less monster on the field to its owner's hand, and you gain 1 life. So if you use this with Wonderland on the field, you gain 2 life. And if you have him on the field too while you do it, you gain 3 life. And if you bounce this back to your hand to gain 3 life and then call it back, the next turn you gain another life. So you gain 4 life. So you can gain life really, really fast. Then we play 3 copies of Magical Goodbye. Return a size 2 or less monster on the field to the owner's hand. So you can use this to send your opponent's monsters back. And then for the last spells, we're playing 3 copies of Great Spell Saturday Night Fever, which this card pretty much acts like an impact for 72 pillars. Cast cost, pay 2 gauge and pay 1 life. You may only cast this if the number of 72 pillars in your drop zone is 6 or more, which is why we play a lot of 72 pillars cards, obviously. Counter, choose up to 3 size 1 72 pillars from your drop zone and call them without paying their call cost, and return all cards from your drop zone into the deck and shuffle your deck. So what really makes this good is if you have your demon, where are they? Okay, where did they go? There they are. Wow, that was a little weird. If you have your Demon Lord Teacher Osmodize in the drop zone, you can call this for free without having to pay the 2 gauge cost and bounce a card back. You can just call it and instantly gain that skill. And so that's what makes this really good, is you can summon your monsters without having to pay their call cost. And you can use this to essentially get 7 attacks if you have your book equipped. 3 from your monsters, 1 from your item, and 3 more from the 3 new monsters you summon. Just keep in mind that, remember, after you cast this, everything else in the drop zone goes back to the deck, because some people do forget that. I've even forgot it a time or two. It's just something you need to be aware of. And so 3 copies of this. It is just too good not to play. Which it'd be pretty insane if you didn't have to send them all back, because if you didn't have to send the deck back, you could chain these, and that would be just absolutely insane. So, guys, that is my 72 Pillar Magic World deck with the special Tetsuya flag. A lot of fun to play, guys. I really enjoy playing 72 Pillars. It is just a lot of fun to play, and you can just get the spells rolling and just really screw with your opponent and really piss them off. But a lot of fun to play. I hope 72 Pillars gets more support in the future. They haven't gotten support in the last couple of sets. I hope they do get more because I enjoy Osmodai. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up this video for me. Share it with your friends. And I will see you next time.